So, Rob Delaney, not only do you write Catastrophe, you created it with Sharon Horgan, you also star in it. Uh,
Mhm.
you and she won the BAFTA award for Best Comedy Writing a few weeks ago. And, I mean, just for the American viewers, I mean, that was such a big deal. You were going up against some of these giants in British comedy, like the creators of Peep Show, which was one of the longest running comedies on British TV, Peter Kay, who's beloved by BAFTA. Just take us back to that night sitting there with Sharon. What was that like?
It was genuinely shocking. I was repeating in my mind the names of the Peep Show writers, Sam Bain, Jesse Armstrong. Just so I knew they were going to say, and the BAFTA goes to, and I was kept saying in my mind, Sam Bain and Jesse Armstrong, Sam Bain and Jesse Armstrong, so that I would just, when it was said, there would be no shock in me. It was just there. Why wouldn't they win? But they didn't. We did, and so I was just blown away because, I mean, to win a BAFTA if you're British is amazing, but to win it not being British is just like a dream, because it's so. That's the award you want over here, and to get it for our writing, which is the part of the show that I'm most proud of, is I'm laughing thinking about it. It's insane. So yeah, beyond honored.
Uh,
Um, a follow-up question would be, you're on the Emmy ballot for writing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but I think Sharon and Rob are on the ballot for the pilot.
yeah, brilliant choice.
Yeah.
The pilots do really well at the Emmys.
They do very well at
Right.
the Emmys, especially if someone's not really familiar with the show. They can watch or read the pilot and then fall in love with it, like a lot of us did. I want to talk about what the show is about, which is really like a warts and all look at being in a relationship. And for all of us who are in relationships, I think it's so relatable. What aspects were critical to you and Sharon in portraying a couple in all of their warts and all real life glory?
Well, we wanted it to feel messy, but we also wanted the love to be palpable because, like my wife and I, our 10th anniversary in real life is in a few weeks. And I can't believe it. I mean, that's amazing. And we have 3 kids together, and I love it. I would do all of it again the exact same way in a second. And but at the same time, it's excruciatingly painful and hard, and it's the most challenging thing I've ever done. And so, yeah, personally, having 3 kids, the eldest of whom is 5, so a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old, and a wife that I love and have been with for a long time, I guess we just want to capture what it really feels like. And the fact is it feels exciting, depressing, teetering on the edge of unfixable violence. Uh, you say, how I remember seeing on TV when I was a kid, hearing arguments where people like, you can never unsay that, or like once you've said that, like my wife and I said all that stuff in the first 2 years we knew each other,
Yeah.
So it's like. So I am just so fascinated by relationships and marriages and parenting. So we just wanted to look at it in a way that felt real. And if you're going to operate in that, I don't know, rainbow palette, your palette must include the darkest black there is and the bloodiest red, because that's real and that's not bad. I think sometimes people say like, "Oh my God, I watched the show with my, between my fingers."
Yeah, that's right.
And I understand that is our goal sometimes, but I hope that people who have at least endured a relationship that's lasted a while also are happy when they see it and are like, "Yeah, that's what it's like." So, those are some of our goals with the show.
So in Britain, the first 6 episodes were on Channel 4 about a year ago, and 18 months ago, and then the second 6 last fall. but in America, I guess Series 1 started in June of last year, and then Series 2 a few months ago. So all 12 are up for the Emmys for the first time. But as I recall reading, the pilot that you submitted for writing, which is really when you two meet, this unexpected pregnancy and everything, there was something about the structure. Weren't you had you planned on spending 6 episodes dealing with the courtship, the marriage?
No, that's a good question. We absolutely didn't. We had the time jump that you see in this first episode of the second season happened in our first draft of the pilot. And the network very wisely said, why don't you not have the time jump, and why don't you just pick an era? We'll leave it up to you, but for the first episode, how about we stay in one epoch, and we said, okay, so we gave it a shot, and we found out that we really enjoyed watching those characters meet each other and fall in love. We thought we were going to kind of jump in right with where season 2 actually is, so it was a bit of a surprise to us to find out that we had so much fun doing the first season, which is them getting to know each other. So that was not the plan, but I'm glad that we adapted and went that way.
Yeah. Going back to what you were saying earlier about how relatable the show is, it did feel sometimes like watching a freaking documentary. Like when you and Sharon, when your characters are pooping in front of each other and the sex is really perfunctory and the kids are coming in and and you're having stupid arguments where you just want to throw each other over a balcony. We all get that, and that's what we laugh at as well as watch between our fingers. I'm just wondering, when you get feedback about the show, are there any particular moments that most people tend to want to bring up with you?
The 4th episode of the first season, where we grapple with the idea of our first child being disabled in a substantial manner, is probably what people respond to the number one most. That is what I think we hear about most from people, which I guess makes sense. We were lucky to, when we kind of locked that episode, we worked really hard to still make it be funny, but we wanted it to really be heartfelt and really have you feel they're struggling as well. So that episode might sort of contain the most potent DNA of the show, perhaps. Other episodes, the second episode of the second season, when Rob chews out Sharon's momby ex-friend in the movie theater, people went pretty bananas for that. And yeah, those are 2 moments I can think of that definitely have generated a lot of feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, just the 2 of you in the writer's room, which may just be the room that you're sitting in right now, but and then you've got the same director for all 12 episodes, Ben Taylor. It almost feels like the first 6 and then the second 6 are like almost like feature films. What was the writing structure like? Do you write an episode at a time?
I lost that question. You came back at the end.
Okay.
I heard Ben Taylor and then nothing.
Oh. What I was saying is that each of the 6 almost feels like a feature film in the way it's structured, and then having the same director. But I'm curious about the writing process. Do you write each one wholly, or did you look at the 6 as an entire entity?
We outline the whole season first. We are pretty crazy, fanatical outliners. I would say like we're good at outlining and we're good at rewriting, and we're probably below average at like first drafts maybe, because we know that if you sort of build the, I don't know, scaffolding, the guts with an outline that's fairly detailed from beginning to end for the whole season, then as long as you prod yourself and trudge through the early drafts, it's okay if they're not funny or good or even readable, as long, you know. But then we'll go forever rewriting, which we really enjoy. So yeah, I guess that's maybe an unnecessarily detailed answer, but yeah, we certainly plan the whole season at once, and then we sort of weigh it as a season and then as individual episodes. Actually, that's a great thing about going out once a week in the UK and then going out binge style in the US, because the show must work both ways, and I actually am extremely grateful for that, because we're kind of screwed. You know, if we have one bad episode in the UK, people might not watch it again, you know? So there's no room for fluff, where if it just came out all at once, you, of course, still want everything to be great, but you can forgive. When you're watching, I don't know, episode 6 of season 4 of Homeland, and there's a little lag, you know. Yeah, I know that comes out once in a week, but come on, I watch it that way, you know. You know, you're kind of like, well, I'm sure they'll catch back up with the next one, and then they do, you know. And of course, we have episodes, I'm sure, that are, you know, weaker than others, but we do really try to stress test them and make sure that each of them stands on its own merit. So yeah, we think both ways.
When you're writing, I figure you're probably concerned about being funny and you're concerned about telling the story, but are you ever concerned or tempted to make the characters particularly likable because you care about this guy that you're playing in, so you want people to like him? Does that matter, or do you just say, stuff that, I just want to tell the story and be true and not worry about whether he's likable?
No, we absolutely care if people like the characters. You know, you think about a Sopranos or a Breaking Bad or whatever, they talk about anti-heroes and stuff, and those are shows that I am crazy about and love. But for our show, you know, you got to remember, we are people who grew up, you know, watching, you know, Fawlty Towers and All in the Family and Happy Days and Seinfeld. Our show is a sitcom. It might be 2016. There might be prestige shows that people are binging. There might be people moving from the world of film into television because it's such a great place to tell stories and all that stuff that you hear. But our show is, that's all true, and our show is a sitcom. So we definitely think about the laugh per minute ratio. We're terrified of going too far without a real laugh. And at the end of, right after we'd written all the first, you know, or not even first drafts, but a few drafts of season 2, we went back over it and we did what we called a love pass, just to sure, because we know that these characters have sharp edges, and we're very cognizant of the fact that we don't make the show for just ourselves. You know, we know people are going to be watching it, and so we explicitly try to engineer how people are going to feel about the characters. Yeah, we don't just throw it out there and say, take it or leave it, jerks, you know. Here's our art. You know, we definitely think that way.
I'm curious, how, given that the two of you write it, how intimidating was it to then have Carrie Fisher come on board?
Yeah.
You know, such a celebrated writer herself with a really distinctive comedy voice.
I think I almost like blacked out when she came on the set for the first time. Because you hear that Carrie Fisher's considering doing your first season of a show that, you know, people might not even watch. So first, I'm wondering, is she okay? Why did she choose to do our show? You know, I mean, is there something wrong? Like, did she get fired from Star Wars and that press release hasn't come out yet? Why? Just, you know, what is? And so we just couldn't believe it. So when she first came on set, definitely I was terrified and in awe. And you know, she really is, you know, people say force of nature to describe certain people, and that might sound silly, but she is a tidal wave of a human being, and very fun and funny, and it's exciting to be around her. I mean, it's exciting to be in the same room as her, even the 10th time, and she's so funny. We don't let other actors improvise. We're kind of mean that way because we have written every comma. If we put a comma in there, say the comma is how we feel like. We're like, you know, like David Mamet would be like, Jesus, relax, guys, and we're like, no, there's so when most actors are like, hey, what if I did this? We'd be like, yeah, what if you did what we wrote? And then with Carrie Fisher, you can't do that. You know, you're like, yeah, so whatever. And then we'll even wind up using it because she's so amazing. So it's very special to have Carrie Fisher in your show for sure. Did I just get dark? Okay.
A little bit. Generally dark, and from what you look like.
That's the dark side.
The dark side of Rob is coming out. I've heard from people that I've interviewed recently, just given that it's Emmy season, that a lot of people actually cite your show as a show they love. And I was wondering, what other comedies do you love? Given that people are watching you, what do you like to watch as a comedy writer and as someone on television?
Right. I should have answers for that. Because I love TV. I love all the modern TV that I see generally. But I don't watch too much of it right now just because I have so many young kids, and once they go to bed, I pass out on the kitchen floor. So, I laughed at. Well, I was crazy about Transparent Season 2. The second to last episode of Transparent Season 2, where they're at the women's retreat, and it starts to weave all the different storylines together. You know, for a show that's ostensibly billed as a comedy, that was like, and thinking as a writer, the ability to novelistically weave all those threads together in a way I'd never seen on television, that felt like watching a little bit of history made, and you're laughing often as well as you're watching. So that was amazing. Over here in the UK, there's a show called Chewing Gum by Michaela Cole, which is a revelation. She'll be being nominated for Emmys in 2 years maximum. We can place a wager on that after the review is over. Yeah, written by and starring Michaela Cole. That show's amazing. Then also Steve Coogan's Alan Partridge, you know, has had a new season of Mid Morning Matters, and that's amazing. And I mean, so much of that show is just like a locked camera on two guys in a radio studio, and it's so brilliant that my wife and I actually acted out quite a bit around the house, and then
nice.
And our 3 and 5-year-old who've never seen it now do Alan Partridge impressions. So those are three comedies that I've enjoyed recently.
Cool.
We mentioned that you're going to submit the pilot for writing. Have you given any thought to, if you're nominated for Best Comedy Actor, which episode you would pick as the best representation of your acting work?
Well, short answer is no.
Come on, you have to.
You know, it's so weird. like if I had a handler here, they'd be like, "No, Rob." They would sense me about to go down a conversational road that I shouldn't. I don't like. That would be great, but I routinely remember. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm in. Oh yeah, I'm in the show too." Since Sharon and I produce it and write it, I'm like, "Oh well, then somebody go on there and say those Rob lines," and that's like me apparently. I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I think there's some funny stuff in season 2, episode 2, that one I mentioned where he chews out Sharon's friend, and also endures some challenges in the workplace. So yeah. I think that would be a pretty good one. I think you get a pretty good picture of Rob in that episode. I think.
I really love the finale of season 2 as well, obviously, because you get to do, it's a bit dramatic as well. You get to do a bit of acting, and it's very effective. So you've got lots of stuff to choose. It's very cool. I really want to know about season 3. Is it happening? Is it not happening? I can't work it out. What's happening?
What can I say? We're writing it right now, and there you go. And we want to make it. The network wants to make it. It's not like locked, in the annals. It hasn't been like announced, but if it weren't made, I would be surprised and upset. I'll say that.
Yeah.
See, they're waiting for those Emmy nominations to leverage the money. Like Juliana Margulies told us that she had only been a guest star in season 1 of ER, and when she won that Emmy, boy, that's when the money started.
That's it. See, it's all about the Emmy.
So, Rob, I mean, I knew you as a stand-up, knew you from your Twitter following. When I was doing research now, really surprised to discover, graduate of NYU, musical theater. So you played Sir Lancelot in A Tour of Camelot. Then I think you played Sir Robin in Spamalot in London. So will you only ever sing a role if there's a Sir in front of it?
No, the second one, that's not me. I think there is a stage actor named Rob Delaney who
that's so confusing.
Right, but I didn't do that. But Sir Lancelot I did do in a national tour in the United States back in 1999 and 2000, and that was a lot of fun. But to answer your question, if it doesn't have Sir in front of the name, no, I won't play it.
Don't bother. Speaking of your tweets, I just wanted to tell you I find them super entertaining when I'm on public transport, and I usually just end up laughing out loud, and people think that I'm a little crazy, which is probably true. But I was just wondering if the Trump organization has deleted your account yet, because you've said some really funny things to presume
Not yet.
somebody. Oh, good.
No, not yet. And he hasn't even blocked me, which I think is smart. Like, the NRA has blocked me.
Wow.
Kim Kardashian has blocked me.
Cool.
And they just look silly when they do that, because Donald Trump, even though somebody in his social media organization probably knows who I am, they can play it off like they don't by not blocking me. Then they could be like, oh, what? We don't care about that guy, which is actually a smart angle. So kudos to you, Donald Trump's social media manager.
Well, listen, thank you for taking the time to chat with us. And it sounds like you probably got to get back and do some more tweets.
Or writing.
A bit of both. Well, thanks again.
Thank you, guys. Take it easy.